Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux with producer Vinny helping us out as we get you ready for some graded stakes action at Del Mar this weekend. Let's head on out and take a look at the field for the grade 2 Pat O'Brien. This one's going to go as race number 9 on Saturday, August the 29th, 7 furlongs the distance, and a pretty interesting group lining up in here. I don't know if you're going to have any real solid, overwhelming favorite as we sit here Thursday morning before the odds have popped up. I think horses down towards the inside, like Stronghold, Dr. Venkman, and Vodka Vodka, they'll get a little bit of support just because they're familiar names on the circuit. But both Stronghold and Dr. Venkman weren't at their absolute best in the Bing Crosby most recently. And then you have a horse like Bartholi, who came off of a huge win. Moonlight was third in the Bing Crosby. He'll take some money. Big City Lights in March of Time. I think you can make a case for them, Ashley. So I thought it was a pretty competitive group here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing this race on Saturday out at Del Mar. I think the tote board's going to offer some value. I'm curious to see where it ultimately lands on. But to your point, I think there's this story of horses that maybe haven't fired their best races recently, but they have the back class. And I think the key also on top of that is 7 Ace. You have horses
Yep.
stretching out and cutting back. So it feels like for most of this group, they're either trying to get back on track or they're trying to step up.
Let's see how the Timeform US Pace Projector thinks this race will shape up, and we can meet the field inside out. They don't think they'll be flying early on, but I will debate with Timeform US a bit here because I think with Bartholdi having that strong win, even though it was going a mile, I'd imagine he's going to be a little bit closer up than they have him projected because he has shown some of that sprint speed before. Let's start things out with Stronghold down on the inside. He's a grade 1 winner. He's a multiple graded stakes winner. He had a good start in the Bing Crosby. He just didn't really go on with it. He backed up to 5th, about 6 lengths off, and he just never really got into much of a stride there. I do think the 7 furlong distance is better for him. You can see he's been in the exacta in all 4 of his races at 7 furlongs. And I do wonder if they'll just try to get him a little more involved early because you see, that was about as far back as he's been in really any of his races. And maybe it was because it was 6 furlongs and they were going a little bit quicker early.
I don't know, don't remind me. I think we talked about Stronghold, and I like Stronghold in the
I
Bing
did
Crosby,
too.
so it's
Yeah.
a little PTSD right now, Gino. A horse that he obviously has the talent to be competitive, not worried about the distance. As we know, he can go further. He's won at a mile and an eighth. I really don't know what to make of that race last time out. You talked about him maybe not being as close because of the fractions. I don't know. I just didn't really like the effort from him.
Yeah.
So he becomes a little tough to back here too high on my tickets. I can see him getting a piece, but off of that alone, I really can't use him last out. I wanted to see more. I do think the additional eighth should help him, but a horse that comes off the layoff so nicely in two and then throws a clunker, in my opinion, it's not what I like to see coming into this race.
Dr. Venkman ran a little better than Stronghold in that same race. Dr. Venkman is also a multiple graded stakes winner. He loves Del Mar. All 4 of his career wins have been here. And he is another that would probably be better at the 7 furlong distance. So can you make like more of an excuse or more of a case for Dr. Venkman in here than Stronghold?
Think I liked him a little bit in that race, and he didn't run well either. I think I wonder for him what the deal was last time out. I mean, I think, looking at the race two back, the fact that he was racing at Churchill off the layoff, coming out of California where we don't see horses typically on an off track, I think that was a whole new ball game for him. So I would give him a pass. I guess you could say he ran a little bit better second off the layoff. I just am not sure if 6 furlongs is what he wants, where I
Yeah.
felt like Stronghold maybe you can make an excuse for it. Probably can make more of an excuse for Dr. Venkman. He loves 7 furlongs. He loves Del Mar. And maybe he's just a little tighter coming into this now with those 2 races under his belt. I mean, you go back to his form last year, he was just 1 for 6, but he could kind of dance with the best of them in terms of the sprinters.
What a cool year, cool couple years it's been for trainer Aggie Ordonez with Almond Joy and Vodka Vodka here, who is a grade 1 placed 5-year-old, and he's won 5 of his last 8 races. Mile on the turf, mile on the dirt, mile and an eighth on the turf, mile and an eighth on the dirt. He hasn't sprinted very much, so he could maybe be a little farther back early than he's used to in this type of a spot, but he is proven over this track, and he is a hard horse not to root for, a very honest Calbred. Vodka Vodka. What do you think about him in this spot?
I think he's very interesting. I mean, the one start we saw at Del Mar in the fall, he raced very well. That was part of what, Breeders' Cup weekend. And the way that he put it all together, he looked really nice defeating Westwood in that spot. And you talked about it. I mean, he's not going to be as close early on this cutback in distance, but knowing that he can win at a mile, I'm curious to see him cut back in distance now. I think there's going to be at least enough pace that'll be rolling late. Whether he can take the top spot in here, we'll find out, but beautifully managed. He's got a race off a layoff, which maybe is a little bit of a concern, but you talked about Aggie, a really good horsewoman who doesn't have a ton of horses in her barn. She's had him ready to roll off a long layoff before, so I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, generally the smaller barns, they've got their hands on every single one of those
Mhm.
horses. So they know when they're ready and they're fit and they're like ready to pop off the layoff. Gold Sweep is the next one up. Concern with him, with he was behind the horses that we were talking about last that we didn't think ran all that well in Stronghold and in Dr. Venkman. It's now been 4 times in a row where he's been double digit odds in graded stakes type races. He's run okay in a couple of them, the Bango, the Aristodes, but every time we see him in a spot like this, he just seems like he's a long shot.
Yeah, I don't really like any of his last, I don't know, 2 or 3. I guess you look at the race 3 back and you say Cornucopian won and Roll on Big Joe. We've talked about it plenty of times here on the DRF YouTube. It's just that I don't even know if I love that race. He was kind of
Yeah.
even throughout. So, um, the waters aren't easier for him. He wasn't able to dance with the big guns last time out at Del Mar going 6 furlongs. Now he has to stretch out. I guess if you look at some of the form at Oaklawn in late April, early May, you would think 7 Ace probably isn't going to hurt him, but I don't know. The form outside of Oaklawn, can't support.
Bartholi is next up. He's multiple graded stakes placed. He was just claimed for $100,000, which you don't see often. I mean, that's a big number to dip in for. And he was a monster winner coming out of that race. So for the bar now, they have a horse who just earned a 103 buyer speed figure. They step him right back up into graded stakes company. He's faced graded stakes company before, and it wasn't like he was completely overmatched in all of those races. He was fine. He was behind Stronghold and he ran some okay races. He does catch a field that doesn't have that much other early speed. So I wouldn't be shocked if they try to get aggressive with him. What do you think about Bartholdi in this spot?
No idea what to do with him. I mean,
Yeah.
when we take a look at this effort, you win by 6.5. You get your first, what, triple digit buyer, and it looks pretty dang easy when it's all said and done. Again, though, I know it's kind of one of those tougher conditions on a race, but this is still harder and a bigger test for him, Gino. And he's kind of geared down there. He's kind of loping, though, across the wire. He cuts back in distance, I guess. The other thing I don't know is what's the trip? You talked about it. He probably has more speed than time form suggests here. I agree. But sometimes when he's been sent, he tires late. So
Yep.
I don't know. And then factor in the price. Is there a shot that he's short in here? If he's short, I don't really want him. If he's, 5, 6 to 1 or a little bit better, he's maybe intriguing.
Iron Man Cal is a grade 3 winner on the dirt. He finished second in the San Diego, or he finished third in the San Diego. That was just his first dirt start last time. He was behind Journalism and Shea Brennan. So maybe this is a horse who has a little bit of upside on the surface, and he's cutting back to 7 furlongs for Little Red Feather and Matacat. What do you think about his chances in here?
You know what? He was a turf horse through and through. They tried him on the dirt finally. I don't think he embarrassed himself. It wasn't a big field, though, in the San Diego handicap. Journalism was able to win that one. Shea Brennan second best. He had the late, he surrendered. I don't know. It's not the dirt that I'm worried about. I'm slightly concerned about the distance for him because that is a
Yeah.
race where I do think there was a conscious effort to have him a little bit more involved. They're going to go quicker, Gino. So he's not going to be as close. He's gonna have a lot of horses to pass, and I think 7 Ace is gonna be short for him.
Yeah, I don't love him, but I can understand why they're willing to take a shot in this race because as we're talking about, it's just like a very wide open race where there's
Right.
not a lot of horses that scare you. And maybe he can be a horse that sort of proves himself now as a dirt horse. If you looked and they were to take a shot in the Pacific Classic, that would have been too tough of a spot for him, right? So this kind of makes a little more sense to see if he is a dirt horse. So let's see. I'll keep an eye on him for down the line. I just don't really love him in the spot on Saturday. Moonlight came running late in the Bing Crosby, and he'll do this every now and then, Ashley. Like, he's a hard horse to trust because of his running style, because he has to come from so far out of it. He was 47-1 when he came running and finished third in the Bing Crosby. And that was actually his first start at less than a mile. 7 furlongs could be a good distance for him, but I don't know if he's going to get the pace to chase, right? So I kind of go back and forth. Like, I think the extra distance helps him, but does he get the setup he needs in here? I'm not sure if they're going to be lining up on the lead early.
Yeah, it's tough to say, but for a first effort out at Del Mar sprinting, it's not bad. And heck, he's got a lot of work to do here. I know they were cooking on the front end, 21 and 4, 44 to the half, and then 56 and 1. But look at him. He's just kind of loping along too to get there, and he's able to do it. So I'm not super against him in this spot. I think if I'm looking at him, I'm thinking the bottom of tickets. He has the best late turn of foot on paper in this field. He's faced good horses throughout, even in the races that weren't stakes races or were on the East Coast. He's fared well. You do wonder too, second time in the Peter Miller barn, is there some upside? Can he
Yeah.
take a step forward?
Yeah, and he seems like he's training well over the Del Mar surface too, and like you said, maybe he just gets better for this barn now that they were able to figure him out. We move to Big City Lights. This is a really cool Calbred. He's a Grade 3 winner, and he probably has some of the best overall form when you're just looking at this race and talking about who shows up each and every time. He has like 2 bad races on the page that you can see, and they were in a weird time period where he had missed a lot of time. He didn't race from January to November, and then he showed up and tried the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and then he tried Turf. And if you can just be forgiving about those 2 races, almost his entire career is good other than those, like the other 15 races. And it shows you that he's a 7-year-old with only 17 lifetime starts. So he's had some physical issues through the years and some gaps, but he is a really cool horse. He had that rivalry where he was, having to face the chosen Vron over and over, who was one of the best Calbreds of all time. And he was never really disgracing himself behind him. So he's just a horse that I almost picked on top, and I have him in the mix, Ashley, because I think he's going to run really well in here.
I think so too. And pretty handy, right? In terms of some horses you think they can only do 6. He can do 7. He's fine with
Yep.
that. We saw it 2 back. Wasn't a stakes race, but it was a really nice performance. They've put him into the deep end of the pond before. He's run well. He had to face the likes of horses like Raging Torrent, Happy Jack. And he didn't embarrass himself. I think kind of looking at him, he had those 2 starts in May. He's had time off. This is just something that looks like it's reoccurring with him, but typically he's fine. And you talked about the 2 bad performances were in November. So I'm willing to take a long look at him here in a race where we talked about maybe them not going that quick on the front end. He's still going to
Yep.
be forward. And so
Yep.
I'd rather have in a race like this, just in case they hook up, I'd rather have a horse that's sitting in third early on, like time form suggests, than say the 7 Moonlight, who's going to be out the back.
I He feels like one of the it's funny for a horse who's 7 and has had like a lot of gaps and stuff. He still feels like one of the safer horses in this
Yeah.
race that you feel comfortable about the effort he's going to give you, where he's going to be in the race, like he's going to show up, he classes up well with this group. We move to March of Time. He's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. He's sort of a wild card that we don't really know how good he is, and he has a bunch of these gaps in his racing. We most recently saw him on July the 31st. It was a pretty good effort from him. He was 4 deep. He was just off the lead. He was only about 2 lengths off at most. He kept kind of grinding, and he was second best. And he feels like 7 furlongs could be a really nice distance for him. I love the fact that he's actually able to string 3 races together now. And he lost to a horse named Captivator, who had actually won back-to-back races and looks like a pretty solid horse in his own right. So 3rd start off the form cycle for him. I think he's going to run pretty well in here. I don't know if he's quite this good, but it's a race that doesn't feel as much like a grade 2, grade 1 as it does kind of like a grade 3 with a lot of questions about these horses. So I think he's in a pretty good spot. What about March of Time for you?
Yeah, this does seem like the perfect spot to jump into stakes competition, even though, again, it's not like he's going into a grade 3 off the bat. It is a grade 2. I also think he's a case where sometimes, I don't know, I think sometimes we think Bob Baffert, they always have to go to the lead or they have to be really forward. I don't think he does, Gino. And I do think, kind of looking at the trips that he has, he's 2-3 off of it in a lot of his races. Now you have to think 7 ace is what he needs. They have obviously been patient with him. We talked about the patience here with Big City Lights. He's a 5-year-old with 5 starts, but big gaps. We're talking just over a
Yep.
year and almost a year and a half. So this is really the only time we've seen him make 3 starts within a calendar year. And I think with that in mind, he did take a step forward, even though he didn't win last time out at Del Mar, that I do think this 3rd start will really be the telltale sign of how much talent he has.
The big key for me is I don't want to take too short of a price on
Mhm.
him because you do see Baffert and Juan Hernandez teaming up. You know they're gonna take a lot of
Yeah.
money. Hopefully, he's not one that ends up being favored or like one of the top 2 betting choices in here. We round things out with Jimmy Daly, who's going to step up into graded stakes company. Just looking at some of the recent form, he's probably gonna have to just get faster. He has the lowest buyer top in the field. It's not always as simple as that, but he is coming in off of a win and then a runner-up effort over at Colonial. Do you think he fits with this group?
I don't know. I'm always cautious about the colonial form if I only see good colonial form and what's
Yeah.
kind of, I guess, sandwiching it, right? Isn't all that good. We haven't seen him outside of there. I mean, those 2 efforts are respectable. The numbers, though, are still a little bit behind, and it's a speed favoring track. So he's a horse that he's been close. How close is he going to be here? I don't really know how quick he is. Again, I don't like his races 3 and 4 back. I don't know what the case is to be made for those, but to me, I'm gonna have to pass.
This is a really tricky, like pick 4, pick 5 kind
Yeah.
of race at Del Mar. It's going to go as the 9th race on Saturday. So you have to be right about this one and all of your late exotics. Let's move to selections here, Ashley, for the grade 2 Pat O'Brien. We're both going to look for, I think, a little bit of value in here, and we're going towards the outside, right? You're going to look to Big City Lights, I think, who you stacked up on top.
Yeah, I'm gonna use him on top. I mean, I have interest in some others, including Vodka Vodka, who we talked about is going to take the cutback in distance. I just thought Big City Lights, in terms of trip, in terms of what we've seen on the racetrack, to me, he's probably a top 2 contender in here. But I think the horse that you have covered in here for Bob Baffert, we talked about it, 3rd start off the freshening, which was a lengthy one. He could be sitting on a big race.
Yeah, and we have a lot of similarities too. The 2 horses that you have in your top 4 that I don't, Vodka Vodka and Moonlight, they are absolutely on my
Right.
radar as well. And the 2 horses who I have in 3rd and 4th are the ones who were a little disappointing last time. I'm expecting a bounce back from them. I think both Stronghold and Venkman will run better, but if you're playing them off that last race, you want a price at least if you're going to include them
Right.
because they were disappointing last time out. Fun renewal of the grade 2 Pat O'Brien. Ashley's going with Big City Lights, 8397 for Ashley. For me, 9812. We'd always love to hear from you. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, drop a comment, and let us know how you're playing the Pat O'Brien.